And Cal smashes one to deep left field, way back, and this one is gone.
Double play. Bill Ripken to McLemore to Will Clark.
Quick two-hopper to short. Cal's got it. The second one. Billy to first. A double play.
My brother Bill and I were known for a lot of things when we played, but pitching is not one of them. So why would we produce a pitching video? Why don't you take that one, Bill?
That's easy, Cal. There's a tremendous need for pitching instruction at all levels of youth baseball, right up until high school. You and I have been around the game since we were babies. Our dad, Cal Ripken Sr., played, coached, and managed in the Baltimore Oriole organization for 37 years. So we've learned our fair share about all aspects of the game.
The more we talk to coaches, the more we get asked about pitching. So it made sense for us to put together a video covering the fundamentals. Bill and I have acquired a lot of knowledge about pitching throughout our lives, and we want to share that with you. But we don't know everything.
Actually, I do.
Actually, you don't. In all seriousness, we don't know everything. That's why we're bringing in a special guest, John Habian, one of our former teammates, to help us out.
Habe's also spent a lot of time with our dad, which means he approaches the game the same way we do, which is very important to us as we try to pass along what we've learned to today's youth players. You'll meet him shortly, and I know you'll be impressed. Now let's go talk some pitching.
Bill and I pitched in high school. In fact, some scouts thought that I might have a future as a pitcher. We were fortunate enough to gather a lot of wisdom about pitching from our dad, Cal Ripken Sr. However, neither Bill nor I profess to be a pitching expert by any stretch.
We've been doing camps and coaching clinics since 1999. As soon as we decided to get into the business of teaching baseball, we knew that we needed to bring in a pitching expert. Somebody who we played with professionally and who spent a lot of time with Dad.
For me, the obvious choice was John Habian. Habe spent parts of 11 seasons in the big leagues as a starter and reliever before becoming a very successful high school coach on Long Island. He is our lead pitching instructor.
To be honest, a lot of people who attend our programs come to them looking to learn from me and Cal, but leave talking about how good of a teacher Habes is. That's why we have him here to help with our pitching video.
I think he's already out in the field working with the kids. Let's go take a look.
Now, a couple things we're going to talk about is, one, all pitchers hit checkpoints, and two, how those pitchers get to those checkpoints are going to vary from pitcher to pitcher. Now, what does that mean? For example, looking at a pitcher's feet, that's a checkpoint. Some pitchers will move straight back, some pitchers will move on an angle. How they move their leg up and get to their balance position is a checkpoint. Some pitchers will have higher leg kicks, some pitchers will have lower leg kicks. Another checkpoint is how a pitcher finishes, or his follow-through. Some pitchers will land up facing the hitter in a perfect fielding position. Some pitchers will fall off towards first base. A common denominator with all pitchers, despite how different their mechanics are, is we need to put ourselves in a position to throw strikes and get here on time.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, Habes.
How's it going, Cal?
How you doing?
All right. Bill?
Habes, but that's something that we stress in all of our teachings. We celebrate the individual. We all have different individual talents. We do things slightly in a different way individually, but the important message here is that we mold the fundamentals to your individual talents.
That's right, Cal. With pitching, we like to look at a couple different things before we even break down mechanics. We want to look at, is he throwing strikes? Does he have good velocity? And does he have a little bit of movement on the ball? So we look at those things before we even break down the mechanics.
Not only that, Bill, but we're going to take these guys, we're going to put them on film, and we're going to compare them with major league pitchers that we have on footage.
Okay, we ready to get started?
Let's go.
Let's go.
How's it going, guys? Before we get into mechanics, we got to make sure we get all our pitchers here holding the ball the right way. And the first grip we're going to go over today is that four-seam fastball. Now, the four-seam fastball, guys, one, everybody have a baseball in their hand? Okay, everybody show me their four-seam grip. All right, now everybody here has a pretty good idea of how to hold their four-seam fastball. Now, the reason they call it a four-seam fastball is when you hold the ball across the seams and that ball comes out of your hand, the ball rotates and you get 1, 2, 3, 4 seams working for you. And that creates four-seam rotation. And that's why we call it a four-seamer. All right, now everybody take a look at their grip and everybody look at their fingers. The first thing we got to make sure is that we don't get our fingers too far apart on the ball. All right, and a good way to see how far apart you are on the ball is if you take your pinky and put it in between your two fingers just like that. And that's a pretty good indicator of where you should be. all right? The reason why we don't want to have our fingers too far apart on the ball, because it gets borderline to, it's almost like a split-finger fastball, right? And if I hold that ball with my fingers this far apart, what do you think it's going to do to the velocity?
Slow it down.
It's going to slow it down a little bit. So we want to make sure, again, that our fingers are a comfortable distance apart. Again, there's that word again, comfortable, all right? Now, as far as our thumbs, everybody take a look at where your thumb is. Well, we want to make sure, and it's a common mistake among young pitchers, is they get that thumb and it kind of rides up on the side of the ball. You want to make sure that your thumb is more on the bottom of the ball than on the side of the ball, okay? And everybody see how I have a gap here between the ball and the back of my hand. We don't want to get up on the ball too much like that and choke it off. Again, if I choke it off or if I grab it too tight, it's going to take velocity off the baseball, okay? Now, the type of rotation this thing creates when you hold the ball with four seams is just like that. One seam goes over the other, and you get a nice, clean rotation. And this rotation causes the ball to go straight. And if you throw a pitch that goes straight, it's a good foundation for throwing what?
Strikes.
Throwing strikes. And we all know that strike one is the best pitch in baseball. And that's what we want to get all you guys doing, is getting ahead of hitters and throwing strikes with your four-seam fastball. Now, on top of that, the four-seam fastball is a very effective pitch, but as pitchers, we also want to have pitches that create movement. Okay? And the other fastball that we're going to learn today is something called the two-seam fastball. Now, how many guys here throw a two-seamer? Got a couple guys? Okay, everybody show me your two-seam grip. Everybody has a pretty good grip here. Now, when we throw our two-seamer, you want to make sure that, again, that your fingers aren't too far apart on the ball, that you get them right on the seams, but instead of being across the seams, now we're going to be with the seams. Everybody see that? All right. Again, don't come too far up on the ball. If you come too far up on the ball and you stay on the seams, your fingers are going to separate. You want to grab it where the seams are closest together. Just like the four-seamer, the thumb stays on the bottom half of the ball, and don't choke it off. All right? Now, this is going to create a different rotation. When this comes out of your hand, it's going to come out this way and look like that when it's coming in. Okay? It's a totally different rotation. And that rotation is going to cause the ball to move, but it's going to cause it to move in a certain way. Now, if I'm a right-handed pitcher, okay, and I throw my two-seam fastball to a right-handed hitter, it's going to cause the ball to move inside on a right-handed hitter. If I'm a lefty and I throw a two-seamer to a right-handed hitter, it's going to move away. That's what the pitch is designed to do. Does anybody know another name for a two-seam fastball?
Sinker.
A sinker, right? And a couple sinker pitchers in the major leagues that you can kind of look at is Kevin Brown and Tim Hudson with the Oakland A's. Those are guys that have very effective two-seam fastballs, all right? And again, it's going to move down and in to a right. If I'm a right-handed pitcher, move down and into a right-handed hitter. Very important that you remember that, all right? Now that we have the four-seam and the two-seam fastball grips down, now we're ready to start talking about mechanics.
I'm going to interject one thing. Habe's talked about the four-seam fastball being the foundation out here on the mound, throwing strike one, throwing strikes because the ball goes straight. I want to talk about this is the foundation, and this should be the only grip we use as an infielder, as an outfielder, or a catcher, is this four-seam grip. Habe's talked about the two-seamer being a sinker, okay, trying to deceive the hitter. If I'm playing shortstop and I throw a two-seamer over to my first baseman, I don't want to deceive my first baseman and have it sink or run. I want to hold a four-seam grip every time. I want it to go from point A to point B. If I'm making that play, he's on my team. I want him to catch the ball. The four-seam grip should be used by everybody out here, including the pitcher to throw strikes, but every other player that plays baseball.
Come on out here, Nick. Here you go, buddy. Now, Nick's been throwing a little bit here. He's loosened up. He's probably been throwing for about 10 minutes. And we're just going to give Nick time to get going again. And what I want to tell Nick to do first is start throwing the ball with four seams. Great job. Now, what I'm looking for here is, one, I'm not looking at Nick's mechanics. I'm looking at the flight of the ball. And the three things I'm going to look for is, one, movement. I'm going to look for velocity. And most importantly, I'm going to look if Nick is throwing strikes. Now, the reason I'm looking for those three things and not his mechanics is very simple. Because if he's got good movement, has good velocity, and is throwing strikes, that's telling me as a coach, I don't have to do very much with this kid. He's doing a lot of things right if he's doing those three things. That's not to say there's areas of improvement for pitchers that are doing that, especially young pitchers, but all it does is it protects me in case I have a kid out here that has unconventional mechanics or looks a little herky-jerky. Because once again, what we're trying to do here, we're trying to celebrate the individual. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. All right, Nick, let's see you throw some two-seamers now. Nick's four-seamer looked pretty good. It was straight, he had good direction. Now what I'm looking for with his two-seamer is I want to see if he gets good downward action against a right-handed hitter and he's throwing it away. That's good. Once again, Nick's got good location, he's got pretty decent movement, and he's around the dish. Great job, Nick. Okay guys, we've covered our grips. Now we're ready to get into mechanics. Now what we've done with mechanics is we've broken it down into 5 sections or links. Okay, we like to call our mechanics the 5 links of the chain. Now why do we call it that? Well, just like the links of a chain, if one of those links breaks down, it can affect the rest of the chain. Now the 5 links that we broke them down into is 1, we're going to talk about our feet. We're going to talk about balance. We're going to talk about our power position. We're going to talk about rotation. And finally, our follow through. Now the first thing I'm going to talk about now is our feet. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we get all you guys with your feet on the mound the right way. And the first thing we're going to do is make sure that you get your heel on the rubber and your toes on the dirt. Okay? Now, a lot of different theories about where we should start out on, as far as which side should we start out on the rubber. On the left side for left-handers, or should right-handers start on the right side? Our theory is we want to make sure you're in a comfortable position to throw strikes. Now, are there advantages for a right-hander to throw over here and a left-hander to throw over here? Yeah, but they're a little bit more advanced concepts, and you know, really we're going to wait until you get into a higher level of ball before we start talking about stuff like that. Right now, we just want to make sure we get you on the mound nice and comfortable and get you in a good setup. Now, the first thing we're going to do when we start our full windup is we got to take a step. And we want to make sure that step is a short step, okay, and a quiet step. We don't want to get too violent and get too far back. If I get too far back, where's my weight going? Towards second base. I want to make sure I'm generating all my energy towards home plate. So how do I do that? Well, 1, I can make sure that my head stays above my pivot foot. If I think about my head staying above my pivot foot, this step back isn't going to go too far. Okay, it's going to be nice and comfortable. Okay, and we got to also watch out that terminology right there. We tell pitchers to take a step back. A lot of times they take a step straight back. And if I do that and I go to make my next move, which is my pivot, do I look comfortable right now? I don't feel very comfortable. Okay, so you got to make sure that 1, the step back is actually a step on an angle, a 45-degree angle, or some guys like to go to the side. And what that does, helps us pivot all the way. We got to make sure we pivot right alongside the rubber. All right, another advantage, okay, of having our heel on the rubber and our toes facing forward is how many of you guys have pitched on pitching mounds where there's been a big hole in front of the rubber? I'm sure all of you have. It's not like these mounds that are nice and manicured, okay? If you start out here, okay, and take a step back, 1, we're further away than where we'd like to be, but when I go to make my next move and make my pivot, now I got to pick my foot up off the mound and take a step. And if there's a 4-inch hole in front of that rubber, boom, I'm making a big drop, okay? And that big drop is enough to mess up the rest of the links or the rest of your mechanics. Okay, and a lot of times you'll have a day out there where you're struggling, okay, and everybody's yelling out instructions, and all it is a simple move like this. And that's why we concentrate on the feet first before we move forward. We get right here, make a nice pivot, and that sets us up for the next link.
Okay, hold it right there for a second. Do you see where Habes had the ball in his glove? That's one important thing that I'd like to have you guys make note of. From a hitter's perspective, if you don't have the ball in your glove and it's off to your side, you are revealing the grip on the baseball, what you might throw to the plate. So I would recommend that you would start with your ball in the glove. Now some pitchers, when they take a short step back, the glove will stay there, like Mike Messina. Other pitchers, like Boomer Wells, glove actually comes above his head. Whatever you're comfortable with and whatever you feel works for you, both of those are particularly right. But the important thing is get the ball conceal your grip in the glove so the hitter does not have an advantage. And again, and remember, when you take that first step back, the 45-degree step back, make it a small step, not a real violent step, okay?
Okay, thanks, Cal. Okay, like we said, we got here, we're taking care of our feet, we made a nice step back, we got a good pivot. Now we're ready to get into our balance position. Okay, when we get into our balance, we want to make sure we get one. When we bring that leg up, we want to make sure we have good, nice control of that lead leg. All right, we don't want to get here again, once again, get too violent. All right, and when we get into our balance, okay, we're going to be slightly closed here. Okay, we don't want to get too far open, all right, or too far closed. Right about here, nice and comfortable. You see some pitchers with their hands still, some pitchers with their hands above their head. Well, at the balance point, you'll see some guys with low leg kicks, some guys with high leg kicks. Some guys will be like this, okay? Again, there's no right or wrong. It's one, we want to make sure we have that common denominator, which is what? Balance. We want to get to this balance point, all right? What we're doing here is we're generating energy, okay? We're generating momentum. We're loading up here. And if we load up, now we can start our drive towards the plate.
We'll check out a little bit of balance right here. Juan, come on up here. Let me see your first 2 links of the chain, which is the feet and the balance. Let's see how Juan does. Stay there all day, couldn't you? Let me have that ball back, Juan. Nice job. Nick, come on up here. See what the big lefty can do.
Very good.
That is good. I'll take that back. All right, I think we have the balance, Habes.
All right.
Take us into the power position.
Very good. Well, as you can see with those two guys, they kind of had high gloves, okay, which is very good. And what I liked about both of them, they had their eyes on the target, okay, when you're going towards the plate. One thing we're going to make sure when we get into that balance position, that our eyes are on the catcher, okay, again, always thinking about throwing strikes, eyes on the target. Now, when we get into our balance, our next link, okay, our link 3 is going to be our power position. This is where we separate. When I look back here is, one, I want to see how you guys are taking that ball out of the glove. One, we want to make sure that that hand is above the ball when we take it out. Okay, if our hand is above the ball, it's going to help us create arm action right here. If our hand comes out underneath the ball, then we kind of look like this. And we've all seen those guys. They kind of look like a pitching machine. It's because their hands are underneath the ball. But if we take that ball out with our hand above the ball, boom, we've got that nice arm action. We're creating that torque. Okay. Another point is when we take that ball out of the glove, we want to make sure we get it out and up. Don't want to get too lazy behind here. Get it out and up so we get here on time and put ourselves in a position to throw what? Strikes. Okay. The next point of the power position is we want to make sure that we're utilizing this front side, okay? Not only in pitching, throwing a baseball period, whether you're playing shortstop, outfield, when we throw a baseball, we got to get this front side involved. It's going to give us 2 things. One, direction. It's going to help us, again, put us in a better position to throw strikes. And 2, it helps us generate torque, all right? And when we generate torque, that gets us into our next link, which is rotation. Now we're rotating, we're generating all this energy, all right? And when I look for a rotation is, one, I want to make sure that we got good posture. My feet are lined up. I got my toe pointing towards home plate. My arm is in an L, okay? Now whether you're over the top or 3/4, does my elbow move much? No, it's still slightly above my shoulder. And if my elbow is above my shoulder, and my hand's up here, it's going to give me what? It's going to give me leverage. So I'm going downhill towards the plate. All right? And through all this, I'm creating all this momentum. Okay? All this momentum. I got power. I'm generating power position, generating rotation. Now I have my follow through. And you'll see all different types of follow throughs. Some pitchers will finish up perfect, facing the hitter. Some guys, right-handers will finish down the first base line. Some left-handers will finish down the third base line. Okay? Is there a right or wrong way? Well, again, when you're talking textbook, you'd like to finish up facing the hitter, okay? But if you're doing those 3 things, we're throwing strikes, okay? We got good movement and we have good velocity, we're not going to change it. We're not going to change it. We just want to make sure you're generating momentum, you have a good strong follow through, and we're attacking the hitters. Okay, we finished mechanics. Now we're going to work on some drills. Okay, one tool that coaches can use to help their pitchers improve is drill work. Not only will drills help a pitcher with his conditioning, help with his muscle memory, but it's also a great way for coaches to troubleshoot. Okay, the drill I'm going to do with Landon is called the balance drill. Okay, and what we're going to do, Landon, is we're going to get right here in our stretch position, and basically all we're going to do is going to pick up our leg. We want to hold it, 1,000, 2,000, step, and throw. And one thing I want to point out also with all these drills is we're doing them from an abbreviated distance. We want to bring the catcher in. If you got a pitcher that throws from 60 feet 6 inches, we're going to bring him into like 40, 45 feet. Okay? So once again, getting our stretch, 1,000, 2,000, step and throw. Again, nice easy tempo. We're not throwing at full speed. Why do we do this drill? Well, for one, it might be for a pitcher who kind of gets here and kind of walks into his follow-through. Doesn't really get here and load up, okay, or gather, or whatever you want to call it. So we want to get a pitcher in a good habit of getting here, getting good bounce, loading up, gathering, so we can have good explosion to the plate. Okay, Landon, you want ready to demonstrate? All right, buddy. Let's get in our stretch position. Okay, 1,000, 2,000, go. Good. Want to make sure he has a slight bend in the back leg. Okay, now hold it right there. That's good. Last one before that now. We got to go ahead and stay there. Okay, come to your set. We want to make sure, go ahead and stay down there. We want to make sure with your pitchers, you want to make sure that their weight isn't on the slope of the mound. We want to make sure you get your pitcher, go ahead and get to your set position. And there you go. That he has good weight on his back leg before he starts this drill. You don't want the weight on the front leg. Go ahead. 1,000, 2,000, good. Great job. Let's go one more. And as always, we're using 4-seam grip. Great. Okay, now a variation on this, okay, and a little bit trickier, is we're going to incorporate, we're going to have our balance, we're going to stride down, and then throw. What we're trying to do here is, one, teach the pitcher coordination and leg control, and kind of teach him the concept of when you're pitching, this leg kind of glides out. We don't want to get here. You might have the pitcher that kind of goes here and kind of thumps forward. This drill will help correct that. We want to get here, we'll balance, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Nice and easy. Think you do that one, Landon? All right, buddy. Then when you weight back, 1, 2, good. This will also help build up some strength in that back leg. 1, 2, 3, good. And let's go one more. Make sure you take your full knee kick. 1, 2, 3. Great. Landon did a pretty good job with that. Again, for you coaches out there, something you might want to watch out for is when we do this drill, you want to make sure you don't get your pitcher thumping forward when he does this drill. You want to make sure his shoulders are nice and smooth and they don't move. Everything should be nice and smooth, good weight control, then we can throw. Great job, buddy. One pitcher I'm going to use right now is Juan. And we're going to do a power position drill. Juan, if I could just have you come on over here. And what we're doing here, Juan, is we're going to work on the third link, which is the power position. So when we get here, we go balance. We want to get right here, and this is the area we're going to work on. All right? How we start out with this drill is we get a nice wide base. We're going to start out with the ball in our glove. We're going to pick up the catcher. We're going to separate. We're going to have some weight shift, rotate, and throw. Okay, now notice a couple things. One, like I talked about before, when that ball comes out of your glove, we want to make sure the ball is coming out with the hand above the ball. All right, we get here, we're going to utilize our front side, we're going to rotate, and when we finish, we're just going to rotate on that back side. Okay, we're going to rotate on that back side, and also, we want that front toe pointing towards the catcher. And if you notice, I'm trying to do it in one fluid motion. I don't want to be real robotic. We don't pitch like this, where we stop short and then we throw. We want everything to have nice tempo and nice flow. Okay? So hopefully when we get you on the mound, you'll be able to do the same thing. Okay, well, we're going to get you into power position now, all right, and take a look at you. Remember, we're going to go nice wide base, and show me that grip now. Show me that grip. We're going 4-seam grip. Good separation. Okay, just keep on throwing now. Good rhythm, good tempo. Great, good back foot. Okay, now on this one, Juan, I want you to stop right at rotation. Great job. Okay, now you can see here, one point I want to make is we talked about the 5 links of the chain. I told Juan to stop at rotation, and Juan knew exactly what I was talking about because I broke down the links for him, and it's easy for him to understand. Now, one thing I can correct here with Juan is maybe to tell him to stay a little bit taller here so he has a little bit more leverage when he's going to the plate. Also, as a coach, it gives me a great idea of seeing where Juan's arm slot is. Now, you can see that Juan is an over-the-top style pitcher, more like a Musina or a Clemens. You may have some pitchers that are more out here. This is okay. This is a 3/4 arm slot, more like Jeff Nelson. Again, there's no right or wrong way. This just feels more comfortable for Juan. Okay? Again, the most important thing is we're breaking down the links of the chain. I tell Juan to stop at a certain area. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Good job, Juan. Okay, for this drill, I got my 2 helpers here, Anthony and TK, and what we're going to do is a knee drill. Okay, guys? And what I wanted to do here is basically I want to take your lower body out of it, and I really want to concentrate on your arm action. Okay? So what we're going to do is make sure we have a 4-seam grip. We'll start out with that ball in your glove. You bring that ball down, get it up in a hurry, and throw it to your partner. Now this is a drill that's designed more for your younger players. It's a great little drill to use before a game as a prelude to their regular catch. Again, you want to make sure they're using a 4-seam grip. And as a coach, what I'm looking for is making sure that arm comes down and up. The arm action we're looking to create, hold on there a second, Anthony. As we got a 4-seam grip, I want to see the arm come down, then up, making sure that elbow's above the shoulder, and throwing it to his partner. Good. Want to make sure every throw is on line. Okay, now with my buddy TK here, TK, you're kind of taking that ball and you're bringing it straight out. Down and up, down and up. Good arm action, gets some good extension. Again, it's a drill that's designed to look at a specific area and not look at too many things at once. All we're concentrating on is arm action. Good, okay guys, hold the ball a sec. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a tee here for Anthony. And I'm going to put a tee right here. And what I'm going to do here is this is designed for those players that chronically drop their elbow. Okay? What this will do by putting the tee here, it'll give the player some visualization so he can think about getting his elbow up. Okay, Anthony, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Again, what we talked about earlier is when we get to our proper L, we want to make sure our elbow is above our shoulder. And what we're doing with this tee is reinforcing that. What it also creates is muscle memory. One thing we want to remember with all our drills, in particular the knee drill, is we want to use them on a daily basis, and if we do that, we'll see results. Okay, the next pitcher I got with me here is Nick. What I'm going to do with Nick is I'm going to get Nick on the hill here, and he's going to throw regulation distance 60 feet 6 inches. And what we're going to do is basically break down the 5 links of the chain. Now, of course, the first link is the feet, so I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to check out Nick's feet. And as you can see, Nick's got pretty good feet. When he gets on the mound, his heel's on the rubber, his toes are forward, he takes a short step back, and very important, he pivots right alongside that rubber. Okay? Now the important part of that pivot, you may get a pitcher, okay, who gets in here and he doesn't pivot all the way. If he pivots on an angle, what that will do is he'll go to his balance position, okay? And if he's in his balance, his front shoulder is now going to take him up the first baseline, okay? Now when he goes towards the plate, his front shoulder's flying open, okay? At least that's what everybody sees. And that's all the correction that's coming in from the dugout or the stands, all right? But where's the problem? The problem's there, okay? That's why we look at the feet first, okay? Because a lot of times you'll see something, very obviously he's flying open his front shoulder. That's where you see the problem. But a lot of times in pitching, the correction is at the link before. But Nick's got good feet, so I'm going to let him keep on going. I like his feet. Now I'm going to check out his balance. And Nick's got pretty good leg control. He has a good leg kick. He gets it up there high. He's using his legs, which is most important. A lot of young pitchers, you'll see some young pitchers that don't use their legs at all. Okay, and as we all know, legs are a very important part of generating velocity. Again, I'm not looking at the whole mechanics. I'm just breaking it down. If I try to look at Nick and his whole windup at one point, there's a lot of things I might miss. I have to look at each section at a time. Good balance. Great, now I'm going to move on. Now I'm going to check out the power position. And this is where I'm going to look at the backside, making sure he's taking the ball out of the glove the right way. He's getting that ball out and up, and he's using his front side for direction and to create torque. Now, one thing I can do as a coach here is I could tell Nick, hey, Nick, on this one, I want you to stop right at power position. Good. Now, first of all, by telling Nick the 5 links of the chain, he knew immediately what I was talking about. I told Nick to stop at power position. He knew this is what I was talking about. So he stopped right here. One thing we could tell a pitcher that's maybe rushing too far forward, if you tell him to stop at the power position, you'll see right away if his weight shift is too far forward and not far back enough. And I would tell Nick here that maybe with a little bit more body control, we can get that weight a little bit more on that back leg before you go towards the plate. Let's try that one. Yeah, buddy. I'm going to load up a little bit more, be a little bit more patient, then explode. Good.
If you freeze frame any big league pitcher, the back foot is still in contact with the rubber when the ball is being released. This is a perfect example of staying back.
Rotation is right at the power position. It's link 4. Very good. Nick has real good leverage. Nick, on this one, I want you to stop right at rotation for me. Good. And one thing I would tell Nick here, again, make sure you maintain your posture, and you can see Nick is an over-the-top type guy, okay? Again, one thing when we talk about rotation, you want to make sure that front foot gets on the catcher. Okay, very important that that coincides with rotation because it's going to give him direction. Okay, great job, Dick. Again, try and maintain a little bit more posture as you're going towards the plate. Great job. You can also notice is Nick has a very good follow through and lands in a good fielding position. Okay, and again, we tend not to get too hung up with the pitcher's follow through here. Okay, a couple of good examples is Troy Percival with the Angels, a guy who kind of finishes up down the first base line. Okay, if it's not affecting the way he throws strikes, his ball movement or velocity, we're not going to change him. But in Nick's case, he happens to end in a good fielding position and he's generating enough power. Great job, Nick. Hey, Cal.
Nice going, Abe.
Thanks.
Nick, nice going. Those are the 5 links. Now, the 5 links might be a little advanced for the younger guys. I remember when I was trying to teach my little man the 5 links, I changed the terminology and made them a little more simple. Number 1, baby step back. Number 2, turn your foot. Number 3, lift your leg up. Number 4, point your shoulder. And number 5, throw the ball. It's as simple as that. Pitchers, You take a break. Bill and I are headed back to the classroom. Before you introduce off-speed pitches, you have to observe the pitcher and make sure he is able to throw a 4-seam fastball and a 2-seam fastball consistently for strikes to all parts of the plate. You also want to make sure the pitcher has a good grasp of mechanics and pitching terminology. Stress the importance of establishing the fastball because it's the foundation for all other pitches. Once your pitcher has reached that point, then it's time to look at off-speed and specialty pitches.
Sweeney waiting to pitch on the way.
Got him.
The 1-2 pitch. He struck it out.
We're just underway here. Swing and a miss.
3-2 to Segui, another breaking ball.
Then Steve Carlton, Roger Clemens, and now Randy Johnson.
So obviously he wasn't going to fire himself.
Well, that helps.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss.
1-2
2.
is swung.
A lot of movement on that knuckleball, so much that Mirabelli couldn't catch it clean.
You just got a chance to look at almost every type of off-speed and specialty pitch and how each one moves from a center field camera. Very rarely do you get to see all types of pitches consecutively. It really allows you to see the difference between each type of pitch.
Most people can't tell the difference between the various types of pitches. They might confuse sliders, sinkers, cutters, and curveballs. Hopefully, these clips have helped you. Let's head back out to the field so Habes can discuss the grips and mechanics of changeups and breaking balls.
He'll also talk about the other pitches, their movements, and the dangers of throwing them.
Okay guys, we got fastballs out of the way and our mechanics. Now we're ready to move on to off-speed pitches. And the first off-speed pitch we're going to talk about is a changeup. Now how many guys here have a changeup? Okay, now there are a lot of different changeups out there. Okay, some guys split their fingers, some guys throw a circle change, you got a 3-finger change or a 4-finger change. Okay, the most important thing is one, that it feels comfortable in your hand and you throw the grip that feels best for you. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is try and find a comfortable grip for each and every one of you. Now one way we can go about this is we're going to start out fresh. All right, so everybody take your hand just like this without the ball in it. Okay, now we'll take the ball and we'll put it right in the, and hold it right on these 2 middle fingers, and then take our pointer and our pinky and close it around the ball. We're not going to use our thumb yet. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get you guys to put the ball in the back of your fingers and not in your hand so it looks like that. When we throw a changeup, we want to make sure we get our fingers involved. Okay, so I got that ball in the back of your fingers. Now take the ball and put it just like that. Now you can take your thumb and put it on the ball and put it where it feels comfortable. And some of you pitchers and some of you older guys with bigger hands, if you can do it, some of you guys can even make a circle, like a circle change. Now a circle change is probably the most popular changeup. All right, but some of you, my pitchers here with smaller hands, don't feel like you have to make a circle. When you just start out throwing an off-speed pitch such as a changeup, again, make sure it's comfortable in your hand. Don't feel like you have to make a circle. Okay, but if you can and it feels good, then we'll go ahead and try it. But this is just one way of throwing a changeup. Another way is a 3-fingered grip, where we can either hold it like with 2 seams or 4 seams. Okay, again, everybody see where I got my baseball? I got it in the back of my fingers. I'm not throwing it in the back of my hand. Okay, very tough to throw a baseball with you holding the ball like this and throwing it 60 feet 6 inches. We got to get our fingers involved. Another way is 4 fingers, getting 4 fingers involved. The next grip we're going to talk about is curveball. Now the common denominator with a curveball is one, we want to make sure that we get one of these long seams working for us. Okay, and when I talk about a long seam, I mean one of these. All right, now there's a couple different ways to grab a seam. One is to kind of come up on the horseshoe and get our 2 fingers right alongside that seam. Everybody do that now. Okay, just like that. You want to make sure you get it on the inside part of that seam. Another thing we want to do when you hold that curveball is hold it out in front of you and make sure that you're not grabbing too much hand on one side of the ball. That's what we call snow coning it. Okay, you want to make sure you get that finger, those fingers, and you're cutting that ball in half and you see at least a little bit of ball on both sides. That tells me that you have a good firm grip. okay? And again, I'm grabbing that long seam. Another way to grab that long seam is to come across here and hold it there. That feels pretty comfortable for me. Okay, it might feel comfortable for you. But again, there's a couple different ways to go about it. But again, the common denominator, make sure we're grabbing that ball down the center. Now we're going to take all the pitches and all the grips we went over, our 4-seam fastball, our 2-seam fastball, our changeup, and our curveball, and we're going to take our pitches here, put them in the power position, and we're going to work on our pitches. My first guy is going to be Juan here. And Juan, we're going to get in the power position, and we're going to throw a 4-seam fastball. And I want Juan to concentrate on throwing his 4-seam fastball away to a right-handed hitter. Go ahead, Juan. And what we're trying to do here is get good 4-seam rotation, decent velocity, and good location. Atta boy. Now one thing I want to get Juan doing here is work a little bit better with your balance, where when you finish nice and easy, nice and balanced. There you go, good. Great. Okay, now our next pitch is the 2-seam fastball. Now I'm going to tell my guy here, we're going to throw this 2-seamer inside on a righty, using our power position, good weight shift. And if we miss, we want to tell our young pitchers, if we're going to miss on that side of the plate. Miss inside. There you go. Now just bring it over a little bit more. Atta boy, a little bit better. Good. Now remember, in your power position is one, we want to start out with a nice wide base, okay? Separate your weight shift, rotate and throw. Don't forget about your weight shift. There you go, good. Again, you can see that we got the makings of a 2-seamer here. That ball is moving inside on a right-handed hitter. Now my next guy here is going to demonstrate a curveball. Now one, we're going to make sure he's got a good grip here. You can see he's grabbing a long seam. He's choking off a little bit, okay, but that grip feels comfortable? Okay. Good, not bad. We're creating rotation. Good, better. Now one thing we can do here is you've got pretty good rotation, but what we need to do is we need to get him to finish a little bit better. So what I want you to do is I want you to go through your mechanics and stop at rotation. Good. We want to get a little bit better leverage when you throw this breaking ball, and don't start it too soon. Right now, the reason why his breaking ball was finishing up and in on a right-handed hitter is he was releasing out here. You got to get that pitcher to get that ball and release it out in front of him. Get those 2 knuckles on the hitter. Okay, so get this a little bit more, and if you're going to miss, don't be afraid to miss in the dirt. Okay, but be a little bit more aggressive out front. Don't start it so early. Atta boy. Let's go one more. Good. Great job. A couple things we could take away from that is one, he was slowing down his arm a little bit. You got to remember, even though it's an off-speed pitch, you still got to be aggressive with your arm action, and you have to throw it, okay? The next pitcher here, Nick, is Nick, I want you to throw your breaking ball, then we're going to move on to a changeup. So Nick, you're going to get a left-handed angle on a breaking ball. Again, this is a great teaching aid with the power position. We got the catcher moved up for abbreviated distance that he can work on this pitch, and he's not putting a whole lot of stress on his arm by practicing at 60 feet 6 inches. That away, great. Okay, let's go to our changeup now. Now let's see your changeup grip. Okay, you can see Nick has a basic 3-finger grip. He really doesn't have a circle here, okay? But it's not bad. It's in the back of his fingers, okay? And that should take off enough velocity. Good. A couple things we need to look for with the changeup is we want to make sure that he has the same arm action as his fastball. What we don't want to do is slow down our arm. Good. Let's go one more. Attaboy. Great job, Nick. Now remember a couple things. Nick used a 3-finger changeup, but the common denominator with all those, throwing a circle, the 3-finger, or the 4-finger changeup, is that you get that ball in the back of your fingers and don't sandwich it in the back of your hand. Also with the breaking pitch, we want to make sure we grab a long seam and we have a nice firm grip. Also about the breaking ball, one, we want to make sure, especially at a young age, that we don't throw too many breaking balls. And remember, the most important pitch that we want to throw is our fastball. We build arm strength by building a foundation of throwing fastballs at a young age.
There are a lot of other pitches out there. One danger with kids is that they want to emulate the players they watch on TV by throwing all kinds of crazy pitches. As a coach, it is your job to discourage this. Pitchers who develop good fastballs at a young age and continue to throw them for strikes with good velocity can be very successful into high school. Changeups and breaking balls can be developed as the players mature physically and emotionally. The other pitches can put tremendous strain on the elbow and shoulder and should be avoided until the pitcher has reached complete physical maturity. Now that these guys know how to pitch, they better learn how to defend themselves out there on the hill. They can't strike out everybody.
Okay guys, now we're going to work on fielding our position. As everybody can see, we got our good friend Bill Ripken back, and he's at home plate, and he's got a fungo and some baseballs, and he's going to hit some comebackers to us. Okay? One thing we got to realize as pitchers, we have certain responsibilities. And after we deliver the ball to the plate, okay, and we get in a fielding position, we're no longer a pitcher. We're an infielder. Okay? So we're responsible for this area in here on the first base line, the third base line, and anything hit at us. Okay? So we're going to work on drills to better prepare us for fielding balls. Okay? One drill we're going to do is called the comebacker drill. And basically what we're going to get here, we're going to get in our windup, deliver the ball to the plate. Bill's going to hit me a ground ball. I get off the mound, I step and throw. But you guys concentrate on a couple things. One, we catch it, bring the ball to the center of our body, and our footwork, where we step towards our target. We don't want to get the ball and throw it over there too quick. We want to give that first baseman time to get over there. Another thing that might happen is you'll get a ball and you'll block it and it'll drop in front. What we don't want to do is go to the ball and pick it up with our glove, because if we pick it up with our glove and we want to field with long grass, this is going to happen. You pick it up with your bare hand, you get a 4-seam grip, you step and throw. Think you guys are ready? Okay, let's give it a try. You got him, Bill. Let's give me a line right here. Let's deliver a strike out of your windup. There you go, bare hand, step and throw. Good, next pitcher. And the boy get in front, step and throw. Nice play. Good. Okay, now we can get some slow rolls, maybe a little bit on the third base side, and make sure we get our pitches using proper footwork and generate momentum towards first base so you can get something on the throw. There you go. Get over there. Now step towards first. There you go. Get something on the throw. Attaboy, lefty. Good job.
Another important skill pitchers must master is covering first base when balls hit to the right side. That responsibility is covered in our other video, Playing Defense the Ripken Way.
Okay, now we're going to get into the stretch position and pickoff moves. The first thing we want to do when we get in our stretch position, we have runners on base, we have a runner on first base right now, is we got to get our sign from the catcher. Now a couple things, we have a couple options here. One, we can start out with the ball in our hand, or we can start out with the ball in our glove. Okay, I prefer the ball in my hand because it just gives me another opportunity to make a throw over to first base if I want to. Okay, if I do that, start out with the ball in my hand, and one, I got to make sure that I hide this ball from the hitter as I get my sign. When I get my sign, I bring the ball to my glove, and then I change the grip on the ball if I have to. Okay, again, very important that you don't change the grip on the ball until you get it in the glove. If you change it back here, okay, it's a good chance that you go to your change-up grip, you change it back here, that hitter's going to see the change-up grip, the runner will see the change-up grip, and everybody's going to know what's coming. All right, so we want to make sure we get our sign, we change our grip right here, and we get into our set position. Now the only thing I can move in my set position is my head. If I'm going to look at a runner on second or look on a runner at first, this is all I can do. If I move my shoulder, that's a balk. All right, if I get my sign, I come to my set, now I'm ready to go. Okay, that's thrown from the stretch. Now with that, we got to figure out a way how to keep those runners close to the base. Okay, the first thing I'm going to go over is the mechanical parts of the pickoff move. And I got my buddy Landon here to help me. Landon, if you could just come over here for a sec. Now when I get into my set position, as a right-handed pitcher, to have a good pickoff move, we want to have quick feet. And the first thing I'm going to move when I go to make a pickoff move is my back foot. And you can see here that my weight's back also. I don't want to be throwing off the slope of the mound. I want to make sure my weight is back here. Some guys like to bend their back knee slightly. Some guys will just be a little bit higher up on the mound. What we don't want is this. So I get in here, I'm in a nice athletic position. Again, when I make that pickoff move, this foot is going to move first. So I go from here to here. The front foot, we got to make sure when we turn that we clear it so we have a clear shot to first base. Now when you do it quick, it almost looks like they're moving at the same time, but they're not. Again, this one's moving first. If this one moves first, all we can do now is, because we picked this up, is pivot on that back foot. And if we do this, that's a balk. We have to disengage the rubber when we make a pickoff move. Okay? As far as my throw, I don't want to throw the ball as hard as I can. I just want it to be a short, firm throw, make a good throw, give that first baseman a chance to make a play. So here I go. I get my sign, I come to my set, turn, throw. Let's try that again. I get my sign, come to my set, turn, throw.
Here's the stretch. Another throw to first. Rollins out at first base.
First thing we're going to do is get our sign, or our set. Attaboy, Landon. Now hold it right there. Landon does a good thing. You see, when he comes up to his set position, he has his eyes on the runner. A common mistake, especially with young pitchers, is as they're coming to the set, they're either looking at the ground or they're looking at third base. You always want to make sure when you get here, your eyes are there and your chin stays forward. If you want to look at home plate, you just look with your eyes. You want to look at first base, you move your eyes. Don't start moving your head around down to the ground. Keep it on home plate. Okay, let's start over again from the beginning. Step off. Good job, Landon. Let's take a step over there. You got a pretty good idea with the physical part of the pickoff move. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the mental side. And what I mean by that is, one, as a pitcher, we don't want to be predictable to the base runner. Most young pitchers, when they get their sign, they come to their set, and then they deliver the ball to the plate. What we want to do is mix up our time and hold the ball. okay, for different time lengths, all right? Meaning, we'll get here, we'll come to our set, we'll hold the ball, we'll hold the ball, we'll hold the ball, then throw over. The next pitch, when we get right here, come to our belt, and throw over. The next pitch, we can come here to our set, hold the ball, hold the ball, hold the ball, then go to the plate, okay? What we want to do to that base runner is mess up his timing, okay? And for you, we don't want to get in patterns. Because if we're a pitcher and we get in patterns, it's a lot easier. You're a lot easier pitcher to steal on, okay? So let's work on that now. With this one, I want you to come up and work on holding the ball. So come to your set, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, pick off. Good job. Try it again. A lot of times for a young pitcher, it's pretty difficult for a young guy to hold the ball. So the easier you could teach him this concept, the better he'll be. There you go. Now I want you to just come up, get to your set, and do a quick pickoff move. Great job. Okay, now we're going to get our lefty.
So Andy Pettit set up high, looks over, there goes his first. The throw goes to Vizcaíno down to the short.
Come on, Nick. All right, Nick, go ahead and make a couple pickoff moves. Now with the left-hander, obviously he has an advantage over the right-hander because he can look at the runner the whole time. And one thing we want to make sure that Nick's doing is he looks exactly the same going to first base as he would going home. And you can see that Nick's using a big leg kick when he goes to first base. So now, Nick, I want you to go to home plate, and let's make sure we see that same leg kick when you go to home plate. Good job. Okay, let's give me another throw over to first base. Okay, an important thing now for pitchers is we want to make sure for left-handed pitchers is you don't cross this plane where the rubber is. If you do that and you go to first base, that's a balk. Okay, so we make sure when we come to our balance position that that foot stays on that side of the rubber. Okay, let's try another one. Good job, Nick. Now with the left-handers, we talked a little bit about the right-handers as far as changing times and how we don't want to just come to our belt buckle and go to the plate, or come to our belt buckle and go to first. With you, you got to make sure that you don't get into patterns with your looks. Meaning a lot of times left-handed pitchers, they'll look to first and throw home, and they'll look home and throw to first. What I want you to do is work on your head looks and have different head looks whether you go to home or whether you go to first. Good. Okay, great job, Nick. Here are some key things we went over today. The four-seam fastball and strike one are two major keys to success. Remember the 5 links: feet, balance position, power position, rotation, and follow through. Grip the changeup in the back of the fingers, not the hand. Find a long seam to pull down on when throwing the breaking ball. Don't throw it up, release it out in front. Remember, you don't want to fall in love with your off-speed pitches. We have to throw our fastball consistently to build arm strength. Part of being a pitcher is fielding his position. Footwork is the key on all fielding plays. Pitchers should try to vary their times to home plate so they don't become predictable to base runners. And finally, footwork is the key to a good pickoff move.
Wow, Habes was great. He certainly is a wealth of information. I guess it was smart for me to bring him on board, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm dumb, you're smart, you're a great idea. That's great. See, you definitely got all the brains and the modesty in the family.
Of course I do. Habes really did a great job of going over all the fundamentals of pitching. Everything he discussed is applicable for any age group. It's just that sometimes you have to make the terminology more understandable for the younger kids.
Use this DVD, along with other releases, Fielding the Ripken Way and Hitting the Ripken Way, to make you and your teams better.
And keep checking our website at www.ripkenbaseball.com to see what new products and ideas we have coming out. In the future, we'll be releasing DVDs covering outfield play, catching, and running a practice. You can also sign up for our email newsletter for coaches called Coach's Clipboard at our website.
Thanks again for watching our pitching DVD. Now I guess you can tell Habes to go home since it was your brilliant idea that brought him here.
See, I'm always a step ahead. I already did. Have fun with the video. See you next time.